Halftime show. Terry Ford, Tyler Head, as we roll this baby up until 3 o'clock here on the game in Columbia at 107.5. Florence, 100.5 the game. Myrtle Beach, 100.3 the game. We appreciate you no matter where you're at. You know I can't hear you yet, right?
Oh, I know. I think you pulled what we've called the Wes Mitchell. I'll wait till you put your headphones in. You pulled off what we call the Wes Mitchell, where you come in right as the show is starting.
Yes.
Because he famously is like opening the doors as the intro is coming on for the Gamecock Central Hour. So you're not late, but just right on time.
Right on time. Right on time. I looked up at the clock, and it was, not to bore our audience with, behind the curtain mumbo jumbo, but because we're a network now,
Yep.
and everything's timed out to the second, I walk into the first floor, and it's 11:59 in like 56 seconds, which means in 4 seconds the top of the hour starts. It means I've got roughly 20 seconds to be in here and ready to go. So it's all timed out now. So we know what's up. And I walked in, what was it, with maybe 7-8 seconds to spare.
I was prepared to start the show by myself. I'll say that much.
I mean, you were there.
I had my riff ready to go. So.
Yeah, I'm trying to tell these people upstairs, okay, I got to go. Why? Got this thing called a show to do. Sorry. All right, so today, obviously, big story, South Carolina officially, and we knew, but now it's official, that our boy Joe is the new special teams coach,
That's
Dee
right.
Camillus. Real quick, we talked about this a bit yesterday. Look, the positives, obviously, this is a guy who has been coaching special teams over half his life.
Mm-hmm.
He's, 58? He's been coaching special teams for like 32 years.
Since 1991.
Right. I mean, before Facebook.
All in the NFL.
Before Facebook. Oh, my God. So this guy is and the stuff I've read, and there's a really nice write-up on him on Gamecock Central. He's a no-nonsense, no BS guy. When you're in the room, he's not putting up with mess. He's very detail-oriented, high expectation level, high energy, but players love him. The story that's the great, I forgot this story till I read it today. 2009, I believe it was, in Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
The bubble in the practice facility fell, and employees were in there, and they got injured.
Yep.
Dee Camillus was one of them. Broke his neck. Guess how long he was out of work?
It's like 7 days, 8 days.
A little bit over a week.
Yeah.
Cat showed up with a broken neck in a week. This is what you're getting, by the way.
You know those the football guy T-shirts that a couple of guys that he's a football guy.
Oh, he's a football guy. And he last year with Sark at Texas, Steve Sarkisian, the head coach, he helped out a lot with the time management stuff. He was on the sidelines with Sark at times to help him in those instances with game management, time management, and things like that.
And I think that's, a good thing of why they added the assistant head coach role to him being special teams coordinator. Because, again, that's what Pete Lembo was doing here with Shane Beamer. But you're kind of almost asking something a little bit different out of Dee Camillus, because with Lembo, who, again, had been a head coach at multiple places in his time before coming here to coach special teams at South Carolina, you had a complete rookie head coach in Shane Beamer that, again, is going to run into scenarios and situations that he's never encountered before. So having that guy that's been a head coach before saying, hey, what did you do here? What's your thought process on this? How did you deal with this? All that kind of stuff. That's good. But now, 3 years in, Beamer's seen and dealt with a lot of things, or maybe he doesn't need that aspect of it anymore, but now instead somebody to just look at things through the lens of time management, situational issues, those kind of things that, again, has been around the game for over half of his life. And coaching at the highest level in the NFL, was a head coach for one game when Gary Kubiak was sick back in Denver back in 2016, I believe. But, having that unique set of eyes to be able to say, hey, here's the situation, here's what you should do here, here's what you're thinking about with clock and timeouts and all that kind of stuff, is going to be beneficial for Beamer going forward.
And Dee Camillus did spend a year at Texas last year. So he spent a year with college players on a college campus, getting a taste of the college game and how much different it is in the NFL. Because the things all right, here's the two, concern is not a word, but the two things you go, one is the recruiting piece. How much, because again, you're recruiting. No, it's not recruiting, it's recruiting in the SEC. how much you asking DeCamillis to be a recruiter? Because everybody on Shane's staff's recruiting. How much is DeCamillis going to recruit? Is he going to be able to? Because that's a huge unknown. When guys come from the NFL, if you've talked to guys who go from the NFL to college, one of the biggest adjustments is recruiting. On whatever level your school recruits, you are, oh my God, wow. So how can DeCamillis fit into that? And how much you ask him to fill into that? God bless you.
No, thank you.
And two, he's an old school dude. And look, a lot of the stuff there should be accountability. There should be, high standard of expectations and all this. Limbo was a different guy. Limbo would tell stories and talk about, things from the 80s and 90s and movie references and historical moments, in our world and tie it all into special teams. And I think DeCamillis is a little more, got a little more edge to him than Limbo. So if you're Joe D, you are who you are. You can't be not who you are. But you're not dealing with grown men. You're dealing with college players.
And again, his approach is going to be different, but there's no wrong way to do this. Each guy has their own individual way to do it. It may be an adaptation for the guys in the special teams room that, hey, we're not going to get story time about, the Civil War or Braveheart or something like that. But again, DeCamillis has his way of doing things. There's a reason that he stayed in the NFL for 30 years because he's good at his job.
And and the stuff I read, well, he was likable. The guys liked him. It wasn't like he was this hard guy who nobody liked, and he made everybody miserable, but he was just really good at his job. No, he was very likable with the players, and they enjoyed having him as a coach, but he's a no-nonsense dude. And, maybe Pete Limbo was all that too, but he just put it in this ball of fun or this different way to do it. And DeCamillis isn't going to be telling, most likely, this reminds me of, you ever heard about the story of storming of Normandy?
Sure.
No. Or, hey, did you guys ever see Animal House? It's going to be different. But it's just the idea, you need to be able to motivate and be relatable to 18 to 22, 23-year-olds.
Right.
Compared to dealing with NFL players who are grown men getting paychecks. So that's the one thing. And the other thing is the recruiting. But old Joe D, he can coach special teams like nobody's business. And he's going to help out with, like you said, time management, game management, things like that. And he'll bring a different perspective than anybody else on the coaching staff. That might be a good thing, too. So Joe DeCamillis coming in to be the special teams coach, 3-year deal with $800,000 a year. So the special teams will be coached by a guy that knows what's up. And those things we just talked about, we'll see how they play out, but it's a 3-year deal, Tyler.
It is. By the way, I think we both should have gone into coaching instead of radio because it seems quite lucrative. $800,000 a year.
That's a little bit less than we're getting.
Just a little.
Just a little. So, that was the thing that popped, was that late yesterday? After the 5 o'clock Board of Trustees
meeting, which, again, we knew this was going to happen over the course of the weekend. It was just, yesterday was the official, hey, he's actually coming thing.
And we'll get back to some Shane from talking over the weekend. We played a little bit of it yesterday. We'll get back to it with some more. Also, Lamont Paris and his South Carolina Gamecocks going into Knoxville later today to face top 5 ranked Tennessee, a different version of Tennessee this year because they can score. I mean, one of the biggest problems with Tennessee over the last so many years is they didn't have a go-to dude, a guy that could make buckets. They're a much better offensive team. The kid Connect, has been unreal.
He's even better than he was at Northern Colorado.
Think about that for a minute. He was with second-team Big Sky. He's probably going to be first-team All-SEC.
Sure.
He's hitting 40% of his threes, 54% of his twos, 80% of his free throws. This dude's making buckets all over the court.
Right.
He is a true go-to guy right now for the Volunteers, something they really haven't had for a consistent go-to guy like this. They're better offensively than they might be in years under Rick Barnes. They're top 20 offensive efficiency. They're number 2 in the country in defensive efficiency. This is a really good basketball team who, by the way, is excellent at home.
Yeah, and when you look at last year's games against South Carolina had against them, just bad matchup, got dog walked both times by 40 some odd points, and that was a team that was primarily focused on grinding you out on defense, which they did very, very well and could score as well. But now you take that aspect of what they've added to this offense with a guy like Dalton Kennett, they're scoring at a high clip and keeping scores low on the defensive side of things as well. So South Carolina has not faced a team that does both things as well as Tennessee does.
Now, this is the best team that South Carolina's faced all year, and this one's in Knoxville. But again, you play your game. You play your pace. You play your style. You run your offense the way you do. You stay connected, give effort and intensity on defense, and you find out where it ends up. And that's kept them, let's face it, Tyler, they played one bad half of basketball all year.
Yeah.
I mean, bad. Down the stretch against Georgia, wasn't very good that last 4 or 5 minutes, and the second half at Alabama. But they've stayed true to themselves pretty well all season, to be fair to them.
And here's the thing. Do we want them to go into Knoxville and win tonight? Absolutely. It's not a make-or-break game either.
No.
Like your season is not riding on whether the fact that you beat Tennessee and Knoxville. Would you love to? Absolutely. And that would certainly be a great feather in your cap and would definitely get you in the top 25 next week if that does happen. But if you lose tonight, all your goals are still in front of you.
Not the end of the world. It's not. And because the way college basketball is built, if you go into Knoxville tonight, obviously if you win, fantastic, woohoo. And if you stay in this game and compete against a team that, by the way, has been boat racing folks at home.
Right.
If you stay and compete and have a shot at this thing at the end, that's great too. But if you go in there and it doesn't go, it's not your night, right? Okay, big deal. Clean it up, brush it off, and move forward. It doesn't say who you are as a team or who you're not. It says who you were that night. But the beauty of college basketball is, okay, we learn from it, we move forward, and we get better. It's not the end of the world. South Carolina sitting in a nice spot in bracketology right now in the 8-9 game, just outside the top 25. And really, again, we talked about this yesterday. Would it be nice to be ranked because it shows progress and it shows where the program is headed and all that? Sure. But would you rather be in the NCAA tournament or would you rather be ranked?
NCAA tournament.
Absolutely. So this season's going in the right direction. Don't let the top 25 thing bum you out too much. And you just move forward, and the goal is to be in the dance. The goal is to, when they do Selection Sunday, you see your team's name up there. And that's the direction you care about. All right, we're going to come back. We started this yesterday with Jay, Tyler, and I. And I was mesmerized in the door that was open for me yesterday.
You had no idea.
No clue. So I want to open this up to you who are listening, no matter how you're listening, your phone, your radio, your device, however. Alexa. I found out about this Taylor Swift world that blows my mind. And I want to see you telling us whether you just want to text at 803-404-6100 on the Firehouse subtext line or call on the Love Chevy phone line, how this Taylor Swift phenomenon with the Chiefs, has it affected how your kids or any female in your life now watches the NFL because of Taylor Swift?
And we had a couple of people that texted in after the show. I'll go back and find their text messages because it kind of highlights the point Jay and I were trying to open your eyes to yesterday. It blows
my mind. I got a text from a buddy of mine who was listening that I want to share too. This phenomenon has floored me. And we're going to talk about this whole Taylor Swift thing and how Swifties are watching games just to see a second of her on screen and all this other stuff. Again, I am like wowed by this. So we want to get, if your life, the people around you have changed their thoughts on the NFL, the Chiefs, watching games because Taylor Swift is now hanging out with Travis Kelce. I just want to get a little taste of this from the audience as we go through the show. All right, we'll come back in your halftime show. Terry Ford. I was going to call you Taylor Swift. Tyler Head.
I'm flattered.
We are rolling up until 3 here on the Game in Columbia, Florence, Myrtle Beach, the 107.5 The Game app, and Game TV. We're rolling up until 3 here on the game. We'll give you a chance, by the way. A couple of different things we're doing here, contest-wise. We'll give you a chance to possibly go to a big game weekend in Vegas, our corporate contest through our Cumulus Radio family. That's coming up between now and 3. We'll give you a keyword. We'll tell you the number to text it to, and you pop that sucker off. And good luck. It's you and someone else can go weekend, get $150 toward using it to any of the 36 restaurants and bars at the Le Fontainebleau. Also, you get to watch the game in their big theater setup. It's a good time. And you even get the hotel, airfare, the whole spiel. So we'll have that coming up between now and 3. And also, we just kicked a contest for Valentine's weekend because we are romantics.
Of course.
You just go to 1075thegame.com, the little media reel, the flippy thingy, and you'll see it's Balls and Strikes Holiday Weekend. South Carolina opens the season February 16th, 17th, and 18th. Valentine's Day is the 14th. So it's Valentine's Day weekend, so we're going to give you a chance to win tickets for all the games that weekend. And we thank our buddies over here at the Hilton Gardens on Gervais. You'll get a 2-night stay, Friday, Saturday night. They'll feed you breakfast. They'll feed you a pregame meal. Again, all that from Hilton Gardens. They have their restaurant there called, I think it's called the Garden Grill.
That is correct.
And so basically, get a couple nights at the Hilton Gardens. I stayed there, by the way, when I first got here. They had to throw me out. They're like, dude, your stay's over. Hilton Gardens is cool. Restaurant solid. Good stuff. So you stay there. It's basically you go to a game. You come in, you spend the night, you wake up the next day, knock off some breakfast, and then get your pregame meal. You're going to go to the next game, come back, spend the night, do it all over again on Sunday, and it's a nice little Valentine's weekend.
Can't think of a better way to spend a romantic weekend.
That's right. Strikes and balls, or balls and strikes, however we called it.
Is baseball the most romantic sport?
Oh, there's no doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, it screams romance.
There you go.
Baseball.
Just, if the foul ball is heading towards your significant other, step in front of it, block it, something like that. The last thing you want is ball bouncing off of her noggin or her face.
Because that kind of ruins Valentine's weekend anyway.
That would ruin the weekend.
That would totally mess up the weekend in many ways.
That's right.
It's supposed to be romance. So just go to 1075thegame.com, that little media reel flippy thingy that goes by. Once you see Balls and Strikes Weekend, click on it. You just fill out the info, hit submit, and we'll be picking a winner here soon. But yeah, we just started that contest as well. All right. So yesterday, Tyler and Jay's daughters love Taylor Swift. Tyler's wife loves Taylor Swift.
I think Jay would have the best insight off of anybody, given the fact that he has 4 daughters.
Yeah, and they're Swifties. Which is, again, fine. I don't care one way or the other. My daughter's not. See, my son's my son loves R&B.
Why?
He's 16 years old. You know what he wanted for Christmas last year?
What was that?
The album Stevie Wonder Songs in the Key of Life.
Okay, all right.
I mean, first of all,
he's an old soul.
Iconic album.
Sure.
He wanted Marvin Gaye, but he also listens to some current R&B. But he likes R&B.
Yeah.
He digs R&B. He's not into Taylor Swift.
That's fine.
My daughter is a vocal music major at the University of Colorado. She does shows and she sings opera. She likes Hamilton, Dear Evan Hansen, Rent, Chicago.
Her and my wife would be really good friends.
Oh, she likes that stuff too, your wife?
Oh, yeah.
So my daughter does that. And you know what else my daughter likes? Early 2000 pop punk.
Oh, I'm a big pop punk fan.
Same here.
Yeah.
So either she's digging the soundtrack to the Broadway musical Chicago, or she's popping Good Charlotte, or she's popping,
Sum 41.
Sum 41, and she loves. Her and I both dig. Oh my God, I've lost my mind. I just talked about it upstairs with somebody. Blink 182.
It's good one too.
I'm a Blink 182 guy. Yeah. I'll admit one of my guilty pleasures is what's my Enema of the State from Blink 182. So my daughter's either listening to early 2000 pop punk or Broadway show tunes. She's not into Taylor Swift at all either. So
that's okay.
I don't have any experience with Taylor Swift about how ginormous this is. So yesterday, I and Jay are riffing here before the start of the postgame show, and we talked about Taylor Swift being at the game. And I just went, not about Taylor Swift, but the NFL. I'm going, the NFL obviously doing everything they can to show her as much as possible. It's not Taylor Swift's fault.
Sure.
And I was just like, really, guys, is this generating revenue? Is the idea that they show Taylor Swift on TV, are people actually who do not care about the NFL and do not care about the Kansas City Chiefs, are all of a sudden watching NFL games and watching the Kansas City Chiefs just for a glimpse 3 or 4 times during a game of Taylor Swift? And both of you looked at me like I lost my mind. You both went at the same time. Yeah, Tara. And I said, seriously? And you talked about your wife.
Yep.
And what does she do now?
She is a.
I mean, she watches the game. She never watched
She's
the
not really a football fan. I mean, if I'm watching a game, she'll sit down, watch it with me, and, comment on what it's at, whatever's happening. But she has no overall interest in making appointment television of it. But if the Chiefs are playing, she wants to know when the Chiefs are playing. And especially if Taylor's going to be there, and I'll show her like the, Twitter video somebody got of her walking in. She'll talk about what she's wearing. Anytime she's flashed up on the screen, she's into it. What's she wearing, what's she doing, who's she hanging out with, all that kind of stuff.
And Jay talked about his daughters the same way about it. And then my buddy Joe, who was listening, sends a text right after the show. My 2 teenage daughters are watching way more football than ever because of Taylor Swift. So I guess what we're saying is, and you have a couple stories off the text line from yesterday.
I do. They chimed in right as we were going off the air. We didn't get to these, but Jacob says, my 9-year-old daughter wants to watch all the Chiefs games. The NFL is a genius. And then James weighs in and says, I got my 5-year-old to let me watch an entire football game because she was sitting on the edge of her seat waiting to see Taylor Swift. Taylor is cool with me.
Well, that's my thing. So if you have these stories, I want to hear them because this is like blown my mind.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, the AFC Championship game, these numbers came out earlier. The most watched AFC Championship game of all time, 55.5 million viewers. The previous high was 54.8 with the Jets and the Steelers back in 2011.
So you think the Swifties helped push the number up?
They had something to do with it.
So again, this whole thing is just like a new world to me because I'm just not that person. So to think that people would sit and watch more football just to get to see Taylor Swift because they love her music so much is like wild to me.
Direct comparison. Last year, the NFC Championship game was in the 3 o'clock window, up 17% from 49ers and Eagles.
Do we have the numbers on 49ers and Lions?
Let's see. This article just came out earlier. Let me see if I can find that. But again,
wow,
that's a pretty sizable gem. And look, it's not all Taylor Swift. You do have a different fan base with obviously the Ravens, for their first AFC Championship game in a while.
And you got Lamar. A lot of people like Lamar, and obviously the Chiefs are a thing. They're a brand now.
The effect is in there. It's baked in there.
So basically, if you have a story, 803-404-6100, call Love Chevy phone line and share it. Or hit us up on the Firehouse Subtext line. Has Taylor Swift changed how football is watched in your house?
Well, we'll have some good ones for the end of the hour.
I think we do. We might even have somebody ringing in on it right now. All right. Halftime show. Terry Ford, Tyler Head. Get back to some college basketball talk with South Carolina, Tennessee. Huge game tonight. Hear from Lamont Paris, who was on John Rothstein's podcast with the college basketball podcast John Rothstein does for CBS Sports called College Hoops Today. We're going to get some Lamont Paris thoughts about this game tonight and just the program in year 2 compared to year 1. That's next. Halftime show, Terry Ford, Tyler Head on the game in Columbia, Florence, and Myrtle Beach. Also the 107.5 The Game app. And check us out. We're streaming live on The Game TV. All right, so you want to put in a home entertainment center, whether indoors, outdoors, or maybe you just want to set up your house where it's so Wi-Fi friendly that, you can go anywhere and you can go in the bathroom and, like I call it, spend time in the library and still have goofy, crazy Wi-Fi and the state-of-the-art, internet everywhere you go. Maybe you need something specific for home entertainment or for, any of these things with Wi-Fi or connectivity. There's just one place to go. Seriously, they're the experts. It's Integrated Media, 803-948-8328. They've been doing this forever. They know what's up. Amount of speakers, what sounds best, what will work best for you and what your needs are, because they actually listen to you and what you want, and then they go to work to get you what you want. Integrated Media. Call the experts. Don't try it yourself, please. 803-948-8328. Integrated Media. Give them a holler. Tell them what you want. They'll make it happen for you. All right, halftime show. Terry Ford, Tyler Head here on the game as we run up until 3, 803-404-6100, Firehouse Sub text line, Love Chevy phone line. And again, we're just saying, has this whole Taylor Swift craziness affected your house? So we'll get to some of that stuff here on the show. And please feel free to share. You just want to text it into us, that's cool too. Or if you want to jump in and give us a holler. Has all of a sudden, you know, your daughters or your sons, anybody who never cared about watching football now wants to watch football because of Taylor Swift? Has it changed everything?
Our guy Colin, he's a big Swiftie.
That's right. Did you talk to him?
I've not been able. I've tried to get him on actually after the national championship because he's a big Michigan guy. But his job does take precedent. So we gotta work that out maybe a little bit down the line.
And here's a problem. And we're talking about Colin Taylor, and he used to do In the Bonus here, and obviously covered the Gamecocks for years for Gamecock Central. Then decided he wanted a real job, working 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, and having a life on the weekend.
Wants his weekends off. What's the deal with that, man?
Traitor. So he's a Swiftie.
Big Swiftie.
So we're trying to figure out a way to, weasel him on for a few minutes so he can tell his Swiftie story.
You know what? If the Chiefs win the Super Bowl, we'll work something out.
So he's rooting for the Chiefs.
He did not confirm that to me, but I imagine there's a heavy lean.
I wonder if his wife's a Swiftie too.
Big time.
Really? So they're a Swiftie family.
Yeah. Yeah. Big time.
See, this is like opening a new door to me.
We'll educate. We have 12 days. We will educate you properly because here's the thing: whether you love her or hate her, you're going to see a lot of her on the Super Bowl.
And I've got zero about her. Don't love her, don't hate her, don't care. She's not on ESPN. Well, she is now. But I never. It's like whatever. I mean, it's nice, solid pop music. I'm okay with it. I don't hate it. Don't love it. Don't own an album. Don't tell, like, if somebody's listening, don't turn that crap. No, I don't care.
Sure.
She's fine. She's harmless.
Right.
So all this is just, to me, I'm learning just how crazy all this, because there are people who are mad about this.
Oh, I know. We are getting those reactions now.
Are you?
Yes.
Oh, we'll tell
people
me.
that are. We'll save it for the top of the hour.
Okay.
We got a lot of good text on it. There are people that, again, it's polarizing. You either are on board with it or you can't stand it, and can't stand people talking about it.
Oh, it's okay. We'll take those too.
Yes.
And I'm interested in those folks. Do they have family that's into Taylor Swift, or they don't and they don't care?
It's all about perspective.
And that's what I want to hear. I want to hear the perspective of this because I don't know anything about it. There's this crazy love on one side and all this hate on the other, and I'm not involved in either. So I'm learning. So good or bad, yep. I want to hear from you. 803-446-100. All right. So Lamont Paris was on the college basketball, College Hoops Today podcast with John Rothstein. And Lamont, one of the things he talked about was the lessons he learned from year one going into year two and during year two compared to what happened to him in year one. Here's Lamont.
I think a lot of it was just you're learning the league and how teams like to play and what plays well in this league. I think that's the biggest part of it. Just the length and athleticism in this league. They're really good coaches and they recruit to their systems very well. But I think that was the biggest thing was just, stylistically what teams want to do, especially on the defensive end, and what plays well in this league. I think those were the biggest things. So then when we got in the portal, we were more equipped to retool in a way that I thought we'd have a better chance to win games.
Yeah, and that's what year one is for. And we talked about this all through last year was how much year one is a learning curve for Lamont Paris. He had never been an assistant in the SEC. He had never really been a part of the SEC in any way, shape, or form. And he's coming from a mid-major school, Tennessee Chattanooga. And so it was a huge learning curve. Now, you bring in some assistants who know the lay of the land, but for you, you're learning. And we talked about it during last year, really, to get a little bit more of an idea of who Lamont Paris is and his style and the kind of players he wants. We'll see how he recruits and also how he works the portal. And when you look at how Lamont worked the portal, he didn't get a bunch of like twitchy, crazy, wild, high-flying athletes. He got Talon Cooper, a true point guard, who's a pass-first point guard, who is mature. He's going to run the show, get guys in position, the best position to score, get the ball out, distribute. But then he can make threes. Cooper is a good three-point shooter in his career. So you went out and got your leader, your captain with the ball, something you needed. You get B.J. Mack, who can score inside, outside. How is his game going to translate from a mid-major to the SEC was a question mark, but Mack had versatile skill set. So we've seen that. And then you bring in Miles Stute, long-arm dude. Vanderbilt, not known for their defense, but still Stute, if you look at his makeup, his build, he should be able to guard three positions on the perimeter. And he makes threes. He's a assassin from three in his career, for the most part. So you see how this thing started to get pieced together, and you bring in Stephen Clark, who can, block shots, protect the rim, mobile for his size, but really a guy in the perfect world's coming off your bench. But that's the kind of guys you added. You added a bunch of veteran guys who had played a lot of games, who should be mature, and playing with what you're looking for is good basketball IQ. You have Michi left over, who's an athletic guy, and you're going to put Michi in the better position to succeed now and say, Michi, we're not going to ask you to be the point. You got some holdovers, Jacoby Wright, Zach, you got Zach Davis, who is very athletic, long arm, real good defender, whose offensive game is developing. So you see all these pieces that come together, and you see what Lamont did in the portal, and how he added, and then he adds in, Murray Bowles in recruiting, and old Morris from overseas, also the guard. And so you're kind of seeing where it comes together. And what one thing we see is, Lamont likes experience, like most coaches do. And Lamont really is valuing maturity and basketball IQ. There's nothing wrong with that either. Because you can safely say, look, I bet you if you had the SEC coaches rank teams by wow athletic ability, South Carolina's not going to be near the top of that. But they play well together. They're disciplined. They stay in their lane of how they want to play. For the most part, they run the offense consistently. They're connected on D. There's good effort on D. One of the things that surprised me is how well this team has played defensively. They're in the top 60 in the country in offensive and defensive efficiency. And defensively, look, nobody brought in B.J. Max, who's a lockdown defender. Miles Studi played for Vanderbilt. They were allergic to defense. Talon Cooper, again, a guy that was talked about everything he did on the offensive end of the court more than the defensive end of the court. But these guys have really bought into Lamont Paris's defensive philosophy. They really have. And except for the end of that Georgia game where guys were kind of like reaching and grabbing, these guys have really, they've moved well on D. And they've given that effort. And we say this all the time, defense is effort, intensity, and communication. And we've seen that with this team on the defensive end of the court. And so we're seeing in year two what Lamont possibly is looking to make the staples of his program. Still got to get there. Look, a good amount of these guys are gone. And Lamont's got to get back in the portal or hope some of the guys that are staying in the program who still have eligibility are going to develop and grow into these roles. We are getting a better idea. And year one, like we said, was just Lamont watching. And you're like in the SEC, wow, that team's really athletic. Wow, that team's really physical. Man, that team can really score. Wow, that team's really athletic and physical and really score. It's a good league. And now we've seen Lamont take it to another step to where South Carolina picked 13th in the preseason, is quote-unquote shocking the world right now and sitting at 17-3.
Well, and I think, again, when you look at the talent that he's brought in the transfer portal, he just kind of needed to see, and not that he hadn't played SEC teams before by being at Chattanooga, but seeing it on a night-in, night-out basis to kind of fully understand what caliber of athlete he needs to compete in this league, and then goes out there and literally rebuilds his starting lineup with the transfer portal because, again, he had an idea of what he wanted in a starting five and literally went out there and built that. Now, yeah, you've added Colin Murray-Boyles to supplement Stephen Clark, essentially, but still, you've rebuilt so much of this team through the transfer portal because he had an idea in his mind of what he needed to be to compete at this level, and he's been able to do that so far.
And you've used the portal while you're trying to develop that with your young players.
Right.
So,
right.
It's all worked pretty well so far. So tonight, 6 o'clock pregame, 6:30 tip right here on The Game in Columbia at 107.5 and also in Myrtle Beach at 100.3. South Carolina going into Knoxville to take on the best team they faced all year, top 5 squad in the Tennessee Volunteers. I will come back in here. Firehouse sub text of the hour. I'm looking forward to this. We'll get our Swifty stuff here, the good and the bad. 803-404-6100. That's next. Halftime show. Terry Ford, Tyler Head on The Game in Columbia, Florence, Myrtle Beach, anywhere on the 107.5 The Game app. And also, we're streaming live hair today. The 5 hair is much better today.
It's better.
Much better than yesterday. I look like, well, anyway, we got to get out of here. On The Game TV, we're streaming. All right, time to get those Firehouse Subs. Instead of one like we do, we'll do more than one as we are, again, I'm getting more educated on this whole Taylor Swift thing. The good, the bad, the pretty, the ugly. We want to hear from you. Get your thoughts.
We have a lot of takes on this.
All right, let's go.
We'll kind of do rapid fire here. Got a nameless texter says, I think it's funny some people think that Taylor Swift is hanging around Travis Kelce with whip for his money. They did not realize how much she has.
That is funny.
Her net worth is like $1 billion.
Yeah, I don't think she needs Travis Kelce's dough. Just spitballing.
Let's see. This is a long one, but to sum it up, he's, apparently nameless texter's daughters are into it. Gives her daughters talking points with some of the boys in her class. He says the Swift haters puzzle me. The ones I know are cranky people in the first place. That kind of sums it up. The wife's been a fan of the Kelce brothers. This is from Hot Sauce Ross. Elevated interest. Now she pulls for the Chiefs, and my 7-year-old son pulls for anyone playing the Chiefs. It's made football in the house more of a family affair. Jay from the Interstate says, my wife and daughter now sit down and watch the Chiefs play. I know ahead of time if she's going to be there. Also, my wife loves the Kelces. The Kelces kind of
Kelce's bring a little something.
They have a good personalities, their podcast and all that kind of stuff. I used to get eye rolls all day sitting down to watch. Let's see here, sitting down to watch the games on Sunday. Now my wife is planning tailgates around the Chiefs games and listening to the Kelce's podcast. So it can bring in people that are not otherwise interested. And
Sure.
I'll go with the opposite side of things because I took a call from Bubba and one from Tim a little bit earlier because they're like, well, I don't understand why people are talking about this. You have namely the biggest pop star in the world that's being involved in what's already the most popular sport, not in the world, because soccer is obviously a big deal.
In the U.S., it's the most popular sport.
The NFL prints money.
Right.
And the NFL has to look every single year like, okay, what demographic, what area of people are we not reaching? Swifties are apparently one of them because, again, the ratings are going up. The Super Bowl already has like 120 million people. I wouldn't be surprised if this year's game was even more because now you have the segment of people that may have already been watching for the halftime show or the commercials or whatever it may be, but you have the opportunity to build off of that and get even more people watching, which in turn makes more money, which the NFL, guess what, prints money already.
This is the NFL. It's purely about dough. They don't care about Taylor Swift. Half of them wouldn't know Taylor Swift if they fell over because they don't care. But you know what? They know Taylor Swift will print them money.
And here's the thing. And there are people, I get angry every time that I see her on screen. The NFL knows, guys like you and me, Jay, Elijah, Bill, all of us, we're going to watch no matter what they show.
They're
no
not
matter
chasing
who's playing.
us.
They're not chasing us because they have us
They
hooked.
got us.
We are the sports junkies. We're going to watch this regardless.
Right.
But the fact that you're opening the door for millions of other people that otherwise would have never been interested in watching this game, heck yeah, they're going to show Taylor Swift on TV.
Sure, they don't care. They're using Taylor Swift to make more money. They don't care. Why do you think they show her all the time?
Also, the Grammys are this weekend on CBS. There's a crossover there.
Sure. Now we have any we have negativity on Taylor Swift. You said as well, or us even bringing this conversation up.
Yeah, so not necessarily negativity on the text line, like I said, Bubba and Tim on the
Didn't
phones or on the negative side of things. Because again, and I think it's interesting the perspective of people saying, "Hey, my daughter, my wife, people within their own house have an interest or a knowledge of
Now
Taylor
they're
Swift
watching.
that make them interested." So if you don't have that person living with you or that you're in communication with, maybe you don't have that same perspective. But again, it kind of just depends on where you're at.
And I think that's what it is too. If you don't have like kids who dig Taylor Swift or a family member who digs Taylor Swift, you're like, whoa, who cares? Like me, I was like, none of my kids are Swifties. None of them are into Taylor Swift. And I know how big Taylor Swift is as an artist, but the idea that there are fans, legions of her fans who love her so much that they will sit through a 3-hour football game just to get 3 or 4 glimpses of her in the box, jumping up and down, I find quite fascinating.
Yeah.
I just do. Because, I mean, in general, I've never been like that in general, even of like my favorite artists, singers, entertainers, whatever. I've never been like that.
Sure.
So to find people who love this artist that much that they are so into her that they just want to see her jump up and down and scream and yell for Travis Kelce, I find very fascinating. I just do. And the fact that all of a sudden they've changed their viewing habits to watch Chief games so they can see her. And now they've also fallen in love with Travis Kelce because he's with Taylor Swift. I tell you what, Travis Kelce, don't break up with her. Don't cheat on her. Don't pull that mess these other guys have.
I was gonna say when that relationship started, you were on the precipice of millions of people loving you forever or hating you forever, depending on which.
Would you
way
see
this
how his
goes.
social media exploded?
Oh yeah.
Once he got with her. Well, there are people who think it's all been like contrived by agents, by their agents, or by Travis Kelce's agent to try to get Travis Kelce a higher profile and a bigger brand and all that stuff. And all I know is this: it's like I said yesterday, blew my mind. I was like, really? You guys are serious? And it's a thing. Like you see those texts. You got a ton of text messages saying, my kids now they want to watch Chief games. My wife's organizing tailgates. Now they're actually watching Travis Kelce's podcast with his brother.
And see, now you don't have to create an excuse like, oh, well, I really want to watch the game. No, we got to do this other thing. Well, Taylor Swift's going to be there.
Right.
All right, we'll watch the game.
Hey, baby, Chiefs are on.
It's not all bad.
A smart man could work this to his advantage.
That's right.
And that's all I'm saying. You run from it. Well, you run it as you will from there, but a smart man would work this to his advantage.
That's right.
All right, and we'll keep talking. We'll keep taking your text on Firehouse Subtext on 803-446-100. Football, and more football in the halftime show in the 1 o'clock hour. We'll sneak some hoops in, too. That's next. All right, halftime show. Terry Ford, Tyler Head on the game in Columbia, Florence, Myrtle Beach. Anywhere with the 107.5 The Game app. And also the Game TV as we stream this baby. So you can watch us talk about sports. And we appreciate folks so far who have jumped in and subscribed. Thank you very much. You can go to YouTube. Just search the Game TV. It'll pop up there. Hit in, subscribe. Or you go to 1075thegame.com. And you just click on the live stream and then it takes you to the YouTube channel and you can subscribe. Also, we got a cool little playlisting. If you missed one of the shows, you want to watch one or just curious, you can. Every show is on. It has its own playlist, so you can jump in and do that. And as soon as we figure it out, I'll tell the truth. As soon as we figure out how to turn the chat on, we'll have the chat on.
Little peek behind the curtain here. Terry has to figure out what the password is so we can get into it to mess around with.
Yeah, there's only one human being that can get that's into it right now, and that's this dope. Because the password that worked now doesn't work anymore, and we don't know why.
You tell me it wasn't password?
Should be. You know, that's going to be the next one. So anyway, we're working on it. It's a work in progress. We're stumbling along. We want to thank our friends at Integrated Media. The video itself is awesome.
Yeah, video's great.
I mean, take away the fact that us dopes are on it. The video's great. Thank you, Integrated Media. You know, Michael, Ethan, the crew there. Also, we thank Shepherd's Glass for sponsoring. And again, we're building up subscribers, and we're going to have a little contest here coming up soon that you can win Clemson, South Carolina tickets that will involve subscribing to the Game TV. So all that's coming up. Anyway, that is very simple to go to YouTube or to 1075 The Game, and you can watch our live stream, the Game TV. A pretty interesting story. And again, college football. We're going to get to this in a few minutes about Florida State and the ACC are continuing their legal dance. We'll get to that. Also, the Big 12 has put out their football schedule. We'll get to that. And some other news and notes. There's a couple NFL notes out there that we're going to get to as well. Well, first of all, we'll start. We didn't get a lot of this yesterday because we were just talking so much about basketball. Shane Beamer, obviously Joe DeCamillis is the new special teams coach. We talked about that starting off the show at noon. And just to reset that, look, DeCamillis brings a lot of positives. Dude's been coaching special teams over half his life. Been in the NFL, 2 Super Bowl rings. So basically, coaching special teams, you got a guy that knows what's up, so to speak.
Right.
The only question marks that I would have is the recruiting piece, the recruiting. And also, you know, your approach is your approach, and you are who you are, and you can't be a phony. But are you going to change how you present your approach? Because now you're dealing with college players 18 to 22 compared to grown men in the NFL. But DeCamillis also being the assistant head coach to help Shane with game management, time management, things of that nature, that's a good thing too. You need that in football. You just do.
Right.
DeCamillis, the good news is, hung out at Texas last year at the University of Texas with the Longhorns. He was kind of the game management, time management guy for Steve Sarkisian. He was like an advisor in a lot of ways. Wasn't an official, didn't have an official position title at Texas, but he was around college football for a year. So hopefully that helped his perspective, because it's a different game, man.
It is.
It's just different.
And I'd be I don't know, Dow Loggins talked about this a lot when he went from the NFL to coming to coach here at South Carolina. You know, from an X's and O's standpoint on offense, I can kind of see how you call things differently from the NFL to college. I'd be very interested to know DeCamillis' thoughts on how you go about special teams maybe in a different way at the college level compared to the pros.
Yeah, look, the whole thing, I believe look, Pete Lembo is Pete Lembo, and he's different. He's a great guy, obviously a high-level special teams coach. DeCamillis can coach special teams. There's going to be some of the other stuff that's going to be interesting as he moves along, but a positive hire by South Carolina. There's no doubt.
Again, Shane Beamer essentially said, you know, it was either going to be me doing it or we're going to go out there and make the right hire. And they went out there and made the right hire. And again, a guy that's been coaching what Beamer would have been like a kid when DeCamillis started his coaching career, because he was in college, Beamer was like late 90s when he was a college football player. So, yeah, he was like a teenager when this guy started his NFL career.
Shane was probably early teens.
Yeah.
Guy'd been around. And Look, the part of this, again, and you talk about with Dow talking about the differences between the NFL and college football. And hopefully our guy D. Camillus spending a year at Texas gave him a perspective on, I was a special teams coach in college. How would I handle this? And if you're Shane, because Shane's smarter than me, I'm sure he sat down and said, Joe, it's different, man. What do you think about coaching college kids compared to coaching grown men in the NFL? Hey, Joe, we do this thing called Cruton in the South. You're going to be down with Cruton.
You're ready to fly on a plane 8 times during the week and be on the phone with the recruits at 5 in the morning?
You're ready to go watch some kid play high school football at a high school that the GPS goes, don't know how to get there. You hit the GPS button and it goes, got no clue, man. The little woman or man on your phone goes, what?
There's nothing out
Where?
there.
So are you ready for all that? And obviously Shane had the discussion with him, and Joe D. Camillus is ready to roll. And a guy that was a really good special teams coach for years in the NFL. So we got into that. Also, Shane, before the hire was made, we ran this cut yesterday, but let's re-rack it. What he was looking for as a special teams coach, Tyler, cut 20.
For me, one, from a special team standpoint, somebody that can make us even better than what we've been already. Kind of what goes back to when I first hired Pete, and some people said, well, you're a special teams guy, why wouldn't you do it yourself? And I said, well, I didn't feel like I could hire the best person in the country. I would have, and I felt like I did with Pete. If the thing continues to trend like it looks like it's going to, I feel like we've made a grand slam hire potentially with what I was looking for, somebody that could make us better. I certainly thought about doing it myself. We had different ways to structure it, whether it be me doing the special teams myself or breaking it up amongst the staff and hiring another defensive coach or hiring an offensive coach or whatever can make us better from a football standpoint, recruiting standpoint, offense, defense. I'm looking at everything. And in the end, I just felt like to this point, I've only interviewed 2 people for this special teams position. So it wasn't like I was going to cast a wide net just to hire a guy. It would have to be somebody that I felt like was a grand slam hire. And if I was able to make that, then I would hire a special teams coach. And if not, I would look at plan B. But I don't think we're going to have to do plan B. And plan B is okay, too. There's nothing wrong with that. I just felt like plan A was a little bit better.
All right. So you go with the special teams coach. You don't do plan B. And here we just discussed this about, hiring an NFL coach on the collegiate level. Cut 22, Tyler. Here's Shane talking about bringing in coaches from the NFL. 'Cause he's had guys on the staff who have, whether in some way, shape, or form, coached in the NFL. Here's Shane talking about that.
Well, that would be hypothetically speaking because we hired Dow. We've got some NFL guys. But I think anytime you bring in a guy with NFL experience, to me, they're a fantastic coach. There's great coaches at the college level. There's great coaches at the NFL level. But if you're a veteran from the NFL ranks, you know what you're doing. Otherwise, you wouldn't have lasted that long. The knowledge that you're able to bring, it helps from a recruiting standpoint that these guys have been at the level that you all aspire to get to as well. But I think it's easier said than done because a lot of NFL guys, they've never recruited before. Sterling Lucas had never recruited a day in his life. And when we hired him from the NFL, and he's been fantastic for us from that standpoint. So you may be a great NFL coach, but if you can't relate to 18 and 19, 20-year-old young men, or really 16 and 17 in recruiting, and you don't have the ability to recruit, I don't care how good a coach you are, it's hard. So to me, it's finding that balance of guys that can recruit, relate to younger players and people, and love the grind of recruiting or want to learn about the grind of recruiting, and then can help on the field as well.
There we go. A lot of them haven't recruited in the NFL, have recruited and dealt with recruiting. And recruiting is an animal. I'll be honest with you, I couldn't do it. I know myself and my personality. I couldn't do it.
Recruiting in and of itself is already chaotic enough, but when you look at the structure of the college football calendar in general, I don't know how coaches have lives outside of the football facility because they really don't, to be honest. I mean, they have a couple weeks of a dead period in January where they can't visit anyone, and then one in the summer as well. But outside of that, you're getting paid handsomly, but there's not a life outside of that too much.
No one's feeling sorry for anybody that makes that kind of dough, but there is they're making a lot of money comes with most of the time unless you got a trust fund. Making a lot of money typically means you're also going to sacrifice something.
Right.
Because no one pays you and says, hey, you know what? Show up to work when you feel like it. No one's going to pay an assistant coach to say, you know what? Come in, coach your position, and when you feel like recruiting, let me know. It's not happening. Because the bar has been set so high, especially in the SEC when it comes to recruiting. Everybody's got to do it that way. It's nuts. But we were talking to, which coach was it? Jimmy Lindsay a couple years ago at Birdies for Beamer. And, Lindsay's sitting there telling me, I'm on the beach on vacation. I'm texting with recruits. Wife's looking at me with a side eye. But it's my job.
Yeah.
Hey, ready? I would probably say in a loving way, sweetheart, you like the house? You like your car? You like this vacation?
Well,
you like having things? Well, this is how I have the money so we can have things.
Well, and look, any coach at this level is going to be ultra competitive, and they know if I'm not texting this guy, somebody else is.
No, and that's the thing. You can't fall behind. Ready? Shane to one of his coaches, like on vacation. Hey, man, did you get a chance to connect with any recruits? I'll be honest with you, dude, I was just kind of laying here pulling a tan. Just chilling on the beach. Fell asleep in the chair. I'll tell you what, I'll get to it tomorrow. It's not the answer.
It's not going to cut it. Unless you're under Dan Mullen at Florida. We'll see how that works
Because
out.
Dan was on the beach next to you.
Yeah, well, Dan, for one, I don't know why he would openly admit it. You know what I mean? Because you want to talk about recruiting ammunition people can use against you? Like, well, Dan Mullen doesn't care.
Well, you know this too. That was the arrogance of Dan Mullen.
Sure.
Because you don't say that out loud if you don't have that. Guys, understand something. I'm a bleeping really good head coach. Been in the SEC championship game. By the way, did you see when I was number 1 at Mississippi State? I'm a really good head coach. I'll do recruiting in the offseason when I want to and when I have time.
Right.
That was total arrogance from Dan Mullen.
Sure.
Because you're right. In the SEC, you don't say that out loud.
Really, you shouldn't say it anywhere out loud.
But especially
at this level of football.
In the Southeastern Conference where, other places, look, you got to recruit everywhere.
Sure.
But other places, recruiting isn't as intense as a Southeastern Conference.
Yeah.
And in some places, you've got guys who, put it this way, the SEC is not a conference you're going to go develop 3 stars into winning SEC championships.
No, the Brian Harsin model wasn't going to work.
Ask Brian Harsin. You got to recruit.
But from the perspective of the Mullen thing, like he says that at noon on a Tuesday, right? Well, there's at that point in time 13 other coaches in the SEC that are planning flights to all these schools of guys that are already committed to Florida because they know they're not going to get any pushback from the schools they're committed to.
And here's the next thing. When you're that about recruiting, are you staying on top of the guys who've committed to you?
Well, if you're that lax about recruiting, how lax are you on other things too?
Yeah. So Dan Mullen was just very arrogant in how great Dan Mullen was. And there's your example of Dan Mullen's arrogance.
Dan Mullen's no longer a head coach.
Now he's hanging out, doing stuff for ESPN. And that might be the place for him or the NFL where he didn't have to do any recruiting.
Sure.
To be honest. By the way, speaking of the NFL, an assistant head coach, everybody thought was going to be a head coach. Is he going to be a head coach? We'll get into that next. Halftime show, Terry Ford, Tyler Head. We are rolling up until 3 here on The Game in Columbia, Florence, Myrtle Beach. Also, 107.5 The Game app and The Game TV. Football, sponsored by our buddies at Atlantic Windows and Doors. It's over 40 years, Atlantic Windows and Doors, bringing you quality and a wide variety in windows and doors around the Midlands. Atlantic Windows and Doors, AWDSC.com. All right, Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator of the Detroit Lions, who for some reason decided to stop running the ball in the second half Sunday, but has been looked at as a very high-quality offensive coordinator who has done wonders with the Lions offense and with quarterback Jared Goff, was looked at. There was talk yesterday he was going to be the Washington Commanders head coach.
It seemed like an almost done deal. And it's one of those things where when you're interviewing a guy that's involved with playoffs, you got to delay a little bit because you got to wait for them to get bounced. They obviously got bounced. So we anticipated that sometime this week we were going to have his official announcement to be taking over as the head coach of the Commanders.
Okay, so now this just popped, ESPN. Ben Johnson is opting to remain with the Detroit Lions as their offensive coordinator rather than pursue the head coaching vacancies with the Washington Commanders and Seattle Seahawks. Sources told ESPN's Adam Schefter. Get this. Sources told Schefter that some teams balked at Johnson's asking price as a head coach. There's some stuff out there that says he was asking, you can ask for anything, up to $15 million. Which he's not getting.
Yeah. Now, he has, for most of the season, been thought of as one of the best offensive coordinators in the NFL. Your showing on Sunday may have dinged you a little bit in the eyes of some folks, but yeah, that's a hefty margin to ask for right out of the gate. Is Jimmy Sexton is a
probably
agent?
Why not? He reps everybody else. Okay. So the other the thought here, I saw something where he was again looking for $15 million. The agent said that's not true. D'Amico Ryan's got $8 million a year.
Yep.
I think 5-6 year deal, $8 million per. So let's say the inflation of the world or whatever, that Johnson could get 10. Now, let's say that he was offered 10, and he said, "Nah, I want more than that. I'm just going to stay with the Lions." Johnson got a raise last year, probably to $1.5-2 million as an OC. He might go back and stay and get another bump to go up a little bit more, but not much more because OCs don't make much more.
Sure.
Here's my thing with this, and Ben, I get you in theory, but if you turn down the Washington Commanders because they said they're only going to give you $10 million or $9 million or what D'Amico Ryan's got. Is Daniel Snyder still the owner of the Washington football team?
He is not.
Josh Harris is. Now, Josh Harris, a good owner in the NBA with the Sixers, spent and invested. A lot of people think he's going to be a really good owner in the NFL as well. You brought in the dude Peters as the GM. A lot of people love that hiring. The Commanders, yes, they don't have a franchise quarterback because Sam Howell's not look you. We can lipstick Sam Howell all day long. The performance, the eye test, the numbers, the analytics. Sam Howell's not a franchise quarterback in the NFL.
Right.
Despite the fact that he throws the ball to the other team and struggles throwing on the second and third level of the passing game, and he struggles when you blitz him. He struggles when there's pressure. If you have no pass rushers on the field and no defensive backs, Sam Howell's just fine.
Yeah. Other than that
weird part that the other team has a defense. The Commanders right now will pick second in the NFL draft. So they're second, okay? They're in place to get a franchise quarterback, whether it's Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels. They're in the sweet spot. Guess which team has the most cap space available in 2024?
That would also be the Commanders.
Over $73 million.
Outside of taking over because there's rumors out there that Andy Reid might retire after this year. Let's say they win the Super Bowl, Andy Reid retires. Outside of taking over the Chiefs and the machine that they are right now, that's the next best job because you have everything in place to build that organization over the next couple of years.
Now, again, I wasn't in the interviews with Ben. He didn't call me. I would have given him advice and counsel. I don't know what went on. Maybe he had an interview with the Brain Trust in D.C. and walked away going, these guys are boobs. I don't know. But there's got to be a reason you turned down this gig because this gig is the gig to take.
It is,
And they waited for him, by the way.
They did.
It seems like.
Again, if they were going to hire somebody else, they would have likely already hired them.
Mm-hmm.
And same thing with the not the Ravens, the Seahawks, where it's anticipated that Mike McDonald will
Mm-hmm.
go there. Obviously, they had to wait for the playoffs, for the Ravens running the playoffs to end before make that announcement. So, I don't know if this is. He feels like he needs a redemption arc in Detroit for one more year, but it's kind of one of those things that, yes, your most recent game wasn't the best, but your performance overall for the season as a play caller, and you're going to get credit for the revitalization of Jared Goff as a quarterback as well. Like, I can't think unless you just think the Lions are going to go on a run next year and win the Super Bowl. I don't know how much better you can get.
Or do you think you're going to find a better gig in the next coaching cycle? Because I must say this. You know how this goes, Tyler. You've watched enough of this.
Sure.
What's that old dumb saying? You strike while the iron's hot.
Right.
The iron is hot for Ben Johnson right now.
Sure.
Could it stay hot? Sure. But there's no guarantee your iron will stay hot.
There's not, and there's also not a guarantee of what those next positions are going to be. And let's just say it's Dennis Allen getting canned down in New Orleans or something like that. Like, you're not guaranteed to go into the same type of situation that you'd be going into with Washington with the number 2 overall pick with a ton of cap space where, again, you can go out and say, I want that, and build your team really quickly.
New ownership everybody's got deep pockets. New ownership, deep pockets, rabid fan base, dying to win. They'll love you. A new GM who is a guy that has a really good rep, tons of cap space, second pick overall in the draft to get your franchise core. What do you want, Ben?
I don't know.
Help me. What? They wouldn't give me blue M&Ms. Oh, my God. Okay, I get it. I mean, I'd love to hear why he didn't want to take this gig. And he might have something legit, to be fair, that we don't know about. I don't know.
And here's the thing. Like you said, Josh Harris, very good owner in the NBA. Maybe there's something about him as an NFL owner that, and again, he's not the only person they sat down with, but these other candidates, maybe there's something about him or a quirk with how he runs his football operations that these guys don't like. I don't know.
I'll say this. If you wanted $12 million and they offered you 9 or 10 or whatever, or even what D'Amico Ryan's got, and you didn't take this job over that, ready? I'm going to be nice now because I was going to say something else. Not a very smart career choice by you.
It's not, and I don't know who you think's suddenly going to pony that money up for you.
Is he having, again, there's another thing we don't know about. I'm going to look up his agent during the break. So I'm not going to do it now. Is he just getting bad agent advice?
Maybe.
I mean, does his agent really think that he can hold off to the next coaching cycle and get what he wants? Or is this a ploy for Washington to come back to give him what he wants because he actually said, nah, you know what? I'm good. Is that part of this whole thing? I don't know. I just know this. The Washington gig, and I've never said this. Well, I would have said it when I was younger, when they actually were a great franchise. That you haven't said the Washington job is a heck of a job in a long, 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 long time.
No.
This job, you turn this down, you better have a really good reason. That's all I'm saying.
And again, you don't know what's going to come open that next cycle. You don't know if, because again, we had 8 openings this year. There could only be 1 or 2 next year for all you know. And again, if you're talking about maybe even 2 years from now, your stock may have fallen drastically. Where again, strike when the iron's hot. When people are talking about you as the hotshot new coordinator and wanting to bring you in, go for it.
I get it. This isn't the Carolina Panthers. I might stay with the Lions too because I wouldn't want to take the Panther job because you set me up to get fired.
Right.
But this Washington gig with new ownership, new front office, number 2 pick in the draft, over $73 million in cap space.
What more do you want?
Seriously, Bub, what's the deal? But anyway, right now, and it could change. It could change, to be fair. Ben Johnson, offensive coordinator of the Lions, is opting to stay as the offensive coordinator of the Lions. Interesting. All right, football here in the 1 o'clock hour. We will come back in, circle back to the college game, a couple little notes there, and also get back to some more Shane Beamer sound. Shane obviously talking to the media over the weekend. It is the halftime show. Terry Ford, Tyler Head on the game in Columbia, Florence, Myrtle Beach. Also anywhere on the 107.5 The Game app and The Game TV. Football, 1 o'clock hour here on the game. We'll get back to getting you ready for South Carolina, Tennessee tonight. 6 o'clock pre, 6:30 tip here on the game in Columbia and also in Myrtle Beach. We will have Vince Ferrara from the Sports Animal in Knoxville at 2:15. Kind of give us a little insight on the Vols. And what's up with this dude scoring buckets from Northeast Southwestern Colorado School of Trucking, who looks like right now he's first team All-SEC. So we'll get into that with Vince at 2:15 from the Sports Animal in Knoxville. And we'll get some more Lamont Paris from the podcast with John Rothstein, the College Hoops Today podcast from yesterday. All right, spinning back to the ACC. The Florida State Board of Trustees has filed an amended complaint to its lawsuit against the ACC, alleging the conference engaged in, quote, self-dealing when former Commissioner John Swofford made the media rights deals, basically that locked up this conference with the grant of rights and this long-term deal that at the time they all wanted to keep the conference together, and now everybody's, all angry and mad, and according to this complaint, cost member schools millions of dollars. By the way, just out of curiosity, Florida State signed this grant of rights?
They did.
They signed off on the media rights deal?
They did.
Do you remember any belly aching at the time by Florida State?
I do not. If I remember correctly, they're all pretty excited about it.
Yeah.
They got their own network, the whole 9 yards. Which when was the last time you watched something on the ACC network?
No, I DVR the ACC network all day. Right when I go home, I watch the ACC network.
I think it speaks volumes to the fact that we are in the Southeast. There's an ACC school. There's won national championships right up the road there in Clemson within our own state. The ACC network is not available on the basic Spectrum TV package, but the SEC network is.
Isn't that funny?
It is funny.
Tells you a little bit all you need to think about.
Tells you where it stands.
So Florida State obviously is trying to get out of the ACC. The final nail in the coffin was getting screwed over to be in the college football playoff. And we've said this. If you're an undefeated SEC conference champion, it doesn't matter if you lost your starting quarterback. Doesn't matter if they disappeared. Doesn't matter if they, got caught up in an awful thing with Jigsaw. Nothing matters because you'd be in the college football playoff if you're an undefeated SEC champion.
Yes. And look, I understand the gripe from Florida State. I think they had a very legitimate case.
I think they got screwed.
The playoff committee did something unprecedented in the 10-year history of the college football playoff and left them out.
Right. They got screwed. All right. But they blame the ACC for this. Being in the ACC. I hate to break the news to them. This would happen if they were in the Big 12, too. Now, maybe in the Big 10, because the Big 12's been screwed over.
They have.
So, undefeated Big 10 champion, you probably would have gotten the playoff.
Sure.
Basically, if you're in the SEC or the Big 10, you matter more than if you're in the Big 12 or the ACC. That's life.
Yeah.
But Florida State now wants to desperately get out of the ACC and to try to break the grant of rights. So this is part of what they're trying to do.
And the question that we beg every single time this comes up, where are they going to go?
Well, they think everybody's going to love them.
They think that.
They think, you know what they are? We've talked about this. They're that guy. We've all known this guy. Thinks he's a hottie. If him and his girlfriend broke up, man, women would be all over me. I'd have women, oh my God, I would have to get restraining orders. I have to get bodyguards. Women would be all over me.
Sure, bud.
That's Florida State.
Yep.
That's what they believe. And hopefully you're right. Whatever intel you have, Florida State, hopefully it's the correct intel, because to me and the people we talk to and the things we read and all that, both the SEC and the Big Ten would rather have North Carolina and possibly even Virginia.
That's absolutely true. And then you look at, let's say, okay, well, they're just going to jump over to the Big 12, who does have a little bit better media rights deal than what the ACC has right now. The Big 12 released their 2024 schedules today, and I was just kind of skimming through it. But, when you look at the Big 12 without Texas and Oklahoma in it anymore, and you have like Utah, good program, obviously. Arizona had a good year last year. You look at that league top to bottom, and you're just like, it doesn't really move the needle a whole lot for me.
In brand recognition and wow,
sure.
It just doesn't. It's a lot of good football programs who just don't. Now with Florida State, here's the interesting part. You put Florida State in the Big 12, they become the biggest brand in the conference.
It raises the value of the Big 12. But does it raise Florida State's value by being there? I don't know if it does.
See, I was going to say, not like if you're obviously in the SEC or the Big Ten.
Exactly.
All right, so Florida State is seeking a judgment to obviously void the league's grant of rights and the withdrawal fee. And look, at the end of the day, again, you get the ACC lawyers are saying, look, bub, you signed off. Case closed. So basically, Florida State's trying to throw anything against the wall to get to stick and smell, right? So what this new section that Florida State has put into the suit, it's titled the 2010 ESPN Agreement, Raycom Partnership, and New Withdrawal Penalties. Florida State contends that John Swofford, the commissioner at the time in the ACC, insisted in conversations with potential bidders for ACC media rights in 2010 that Raycom Sports had to be included in any new deal. Remember, Raycom's been with the ACC forever.
Yep.
As a TV partner. Raycom were struggling financially at the time and needed to keep the ACC media package so they could survive. Chad Swofford, see the last name Swofford? Mm-hmm. John Swofford? Chad Swofford? Chad Swofford worked for Raycom at the time and eventually became the vice president and general manager at the company. As a result, ESPN sublicensed the package of Tier 2 and Tier 3 rights to Raycom for $50 million annually, and the complaint states this package provided Raycom with more marketing and media rights than it had before, including syndication, ACC properties, and all digital rights.
Yeah, they essentially would show Georgia Tech and Boston College at noon on Saturday, a game that nobody cared about.
16 people watch.
Exactly.
Florida State also alleges in the lawsuit that Swofford engineered this partnership for the benefit of Raycom Sports. The Raycom Sports partnership has cost each ACC member several millions of dollars and continues to depress the value of the media rights. So basically now Florida State's trying to take another angle here. Their angle is Raycom, because John Swofford was doing his kid a solid, and John Swofford made this deal not for the best interest of the ACC and ACC institutions,
right,
but for the best interest of his kid and Raycom. That's where they're trying to get in here, because they're going to say that negligence cost ACC members millions of dollars. Is that going to work? Feels like it's not.
Probably not, but I can see why they're going that route, because out of everything that they've thrown at it and tried to get work against this grant rights, nothing has. So yeah, why not? It's worth a shot.
You got to try to find something.
Sure.
I don't think it's going to work, but Florida State's going to keep trying. All right, one other note from the college football world. Auburn is set to hire DJ Durkin as their defensive coordinator.
I thought about you immediately when I heard this news.
Again, I wouldn't hire DJ Durkin to clean my toilets.
You have Hugh Freeze, you have DJ Durkin in the same facility.
Boy, I tell you what.
Might need some holy water to wash the walls there.
And the holy water might burn on those walls. Anyway, DJ Durkin. Here's the thing that kills me about Durkin. Not only my experience of DJ Durkin was he was not the best human being in the world, he's not even a great defensive coordinator. I mean, yeah, the Texas A&M defenses were good because they had a ton of 5 stars. But you look at Durkin's other stops, Ole Miss's defense was nothing special. And there's other places Durkin's been where the defenses were His defenses didn't set the world on fire at Maryland.
Right.
But this guy keeps getting DC jobs.
It's all about who you know.
Absolutely. DJ Durkin knows how to plant lips on the right posteriors.
Pretty much.
And again, I wouldn't hire him to clean my toilets. So DJ Durkin back in as defensive coordinator at Auburn. All right, we're going to get the Firehouse Sub text line, 803-404-6100. Today, I'm trying to get a gauge, and we're getting it really, the answers on the Firehouse Sub text line. Has this Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce, Kansas City Chief experience all of a sudden have people in your house caring about the NFL, loving the Chiefs, loving Travis Kelce? Do you have Swifties, whether it's daughters, sons, wives, husbands, whatever? Has this changed the NFL experience in your house? Because I am mystified by this, and I just want to hear stories. So if it has, please, 803-404-6100. And if you think this is a load of fertilizer, feel free to let us know that, too, at 803-404-6100. All right, Firehouse Subtext the Hour coming up next on the Halftime Show. Terry Ford, Tyler Head on the game in Columbia, Florence, Myrtle Beach. Also, anywhere on the 107.5 The Game app. And you can watch us streaming live on the Game TV. Time to hit the old Firehouse Subs text line for the text or maybe more of the hour. What do you got there, Tyler Head?
So our guy Jeff actually has a pretty good idea here. He says, is it too late to simulcast the Super Bowl on CMT or MTV with a Taylor cam? They can do the Slime Time Nickelodeon broadcast. They should be able to do a Swiftie version.
Ooh.
That's actually not a terrible idea.
That's a really good idea, Jeff.
And so the Super Bowl is on CBS, which is a Viacom property. Viacom owns MTV. So
Just saying.
there you go.
Hey, most people have forgotten MTV still in their cable system. They're going, wow, they're still on MTV? Yeah, it's the music television channel that doesn't carry music television anymore.
Yeah, they just show ridiculousness 27 hours a day.
Yeah, pretty much. Really bad reality shows all day long.
Or Viacom is now Paramount Media Network, excuse me.
Yeah, well, yeah, because Paramount Plus is the streaming partner.
Yes.
So they all own
Yes.
those properties. They just changed the fancy name.
Yes.
Great idea. Jeff,
Honestly.
excellent.
And again, have you heard about the Nickelodeon version of this?
Oh, the sliming of the
slime-
Oh, yeah,
they're
yeah.
doing a
It's very
whole
cool.
kids
Yeah,
version.
for kids, it's good.
I tuned into a couple games that they did last year. It's like a trip, man. Like there's stuff coming up out of the field. There's slime everywhere. Like oh God, what's his name? That does the broadcast with them. Former NFL player. He's on the desk on CBS. What's his name?
Oh,
Can't remember.
My God, I can see him.
I'm picturing his face.
Yeah, and his hair and
Yeah.
everything. And he's also CBS this morning now. He was on NFL, the morning show on NFL Network. He was a wide receiver in the NFL.
Nate Burleson.
Thank you. Played
That's
for the
who it is.
Lions.
Yeah,
Played
yeah.
at NC State, I believe.
So you have like a actual player perspective on there, and then Ian Eagles kid who does a very good job. Which I guess he's with NBC now, so maybe he doesn't do it anymore. But like from a kid standpoint, I could see how they'd enjoy it. Like
Sure.
SpongeBob's out there throwing flags and stuff.
I mean, a Swiftie, Taylor Swift cam would be excellent for this.
The funny thing about like the kids version on Nickelodeon is it's not like it is a Nickelodeon like full broadcast because they showed the same commercials. So they're still getting like beer commercials and like, adult type of commercials on Nickelodeon, which is funny to me.
Hey, kids, when you're not sliming someone, how about it's Miller time?
I would say you're going to get the Budweiser Clydesdale commercial this year that makes everyone cry or something like that.
That's funny. Great. Excellent text. We have any more of the Taylor Swift stuff?
Nothing new yet. So we got another hour if you want to chime in on anything.
Has it changed the watching experience and viewing experience of your family? We had a bunch of stuff through the show, a lot of yeses, and a couple people again. If you don't have someone in the house who's into Taylor Swift, you're sitting there going, "What in God's name are we talking about?"
Okay, so here's an idea. Do you think like Entertainment Weekly or like TMZ, you think they're going to have like credentials at the Super Bowl
Sure.
to cover her specifically?
Oh, they're going to have someone who's following her around in the bushes of her hotel, and they follow her everywhere. And that's what they're going to do.
Yeah.
And they'll have their phone,
Sure.
be firing video. Here's Taylor washing her hands. Wow, that's exciting. Here's Taylor sitting. That's good.
Riveting television.
That's good stuff. But anyway, so we started this yesterday at the end of the show, just getting the perspective, and we have a lot of people who are saying,
How much has your mind been opened over the past 24 hours?
"Oh, it's crazy that again people that look." I get she's right now the top pop star in the world. I understand it. I mean, again, growing up, I saw the phenomenons of all these other people too. They just didn't have social media at the time. I mean, you said yesterday, how big is Elvis Presley if there's social media?
Ooh, man.
I mean, so I get the pull that Taylor Swift brings. That I get, but the idea that this is just changed people's viewing habits of NFL games, and now the Chiefs have all these fans they've never had before, and people actually want to sit with the game on, waiting for a shot of Taylor Swift. I am stunned by all of this.
Yeah.
And the fact that the NFL will get to make millions of dollars just off the fact that Taylor Swift is sitting in a box watching Travis Kelce and the Chiefs play. It is mind-numbing that this would be a thing like that. It is. It's just, I tell you what, those Swifties, man. Whew.
I in talking to Colin about this the other day, I said the prop bets on her are going to be insane.
Oh,
Super Bowl prop bets as it is are funny enough.
Right.
Because, like, okay, what color's the Gatorade going to be on the winning coach? How long is the national anthem going to be? Like,
Oh, yeah.
what color, or like, is she going to be wearing a dress or is she going to be wearing a jersey? Like, those kind of ridiculous things,
Oh, they'll do it
What,
all.
what person is she going to hug after the first touchdown? Ridiculous things like that.
Is Jason Kelsey going to have a shirt on?
And that's a good question to ask because in Buffalo, where it was like 10 degrees, he did not.
My man. I tell you.
I know he hasn't officially announced his retirement yet, but he's enjoying the almost retired life pretty well right now.
I'm going to tell you, I guess when you've had that many beers,
Oh, yeah. It's not cold anymore.
it's not cold, man. You're fine. Shirt off. Most sober people don't do that. Just telling you.
Not usually.
Yeah.
I heard he was looking for a table in the parking lot and couldn't find one.
Well, he was out there. He was out there shotgun and brews, drinking out of bowling balls. I
You know what?
mean,
If Jason Kelsey comes to your tailgate, you find him a table, dang it.
yes, that's Jason Kelsey, and you know what he's
right.
going to do? Take his shirt off and jump on it.
Exactly.
Come on,
Should be honored.
right? Jump on the hood of my car. All right, what's trending at 2 next here on the halftime show in the game? Halftime show, Terry Ford, Tyler Head on the game in Columbia, Florence, Myrtle Beach, also anywhere on the 107.5 The Game app and The Game TV. Thanks for hanging out. Time to see what's trending at 2. Obviously, what's trending at 2 tonight. 6 o'clock pregame, 6:30 tip. South Carolina and Tennessee go at it in Knoxville. The Volunteers undefeated at home this year. They've been really good on their home court, and this is just a different type of Tennessee team than we've seen recently under Rick Barnes. Much more efficient on offense. They bring a dude in Dalton Connect, again, hitting 40% of his threes, 54% of his twos. Overall, 49% from the floor. 19.5 points a game. Grabs 4.5 boards, 6'6", has gone off for 30 multiple times this year. Connect's just been phenomenal. And that's something different than Tennessee has had.
Yep.
And so it's a thing. Their offense. They're just a much more efficient team because of Connect. And the thought process is, okay, so who's going to guard them? If you're going to go man, who's going to take him? Now, your thought would be that you would put Zach Davis on him. Long arm, about the same height. Davis, would you say best perimeter defender that South Carolina has? Most likely.
Yeah, probably so.
So, do you start the game with Davis on Connect? You might go that route. You might switch defenders just to keep guys fresh and try to wear him down. The other thing is go at him on offense when you have the ball to make him work both ends of the court, and maybe you can tire him out.
Do you trust somebody like Colin Murray-Boyles? I know, obviously very young, but I mean his defense is coming along pretty nicely.
I'd probably try Davis first.
Yeah.
And see how that goes. Now, Murray-Boyles is probably a couple inches taller than Connect.
Mm-hmm.
Connect probably a bit quicker, but you might have to rotate multiple defenders. And, I mean, again, the old school thing is make him work on D. You know, make him have focus on both ends of the court. You can tire him out or whatever the case. And sometimes if a guy's struggling on D, it takes away from his O.
Sure.
But it's going to be interesting to see how South Carolina defends Connect. Now, is that the only guy? No. Tennessee has multiple players just scoring double figures as well. So it's not just like Connect is everything, but he's clearly the number one option.
He's the focal point of the offense.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Jonas Adu is another one, 12 points a game, 7.5 boards. He's their only big, really, at 6'11". That gets a lot of run. But old Jonas is 53% from the floor. Zakai Ziegler, the point guard, he shoots 34% from three, which is solid.
But his game is when it comes to assists.
Yes, he averages 5 assists a game.
One of the best in the SEC.
And by the way, he doesn't turn it over a lot, a little bit over 2 turnovers a game. Ziegler's a really good point guard. He's been around forever. I think he played at Tennessee in the 90s. I mean, dude has been around forever.
Him and Vescovy.
Well, and here's the thing about why Tennessee's better on offense. And I don't want this to sound mean. So now it's going to sound mean because I said I don't want it to sound mean. Like, you know, not trying to be disrespectful.
As you say something disrespectful.
As I say something disrespectful. The fact that Santiago has gone from being one of your most important options on offense to a guy scoring 7 points a game and playing less minutes tells you how much better Tennessee is this year and deeper and more efficient on offense. Vescovy, and he's shooting a career worst from three. Vescovy's a guy that shoots threes. That's who he is. And that's fine if he's your number 4 option. But when he's a guy you need to have score buckets for you so you can win games, and that's what he's been up until this year at times, that's not a good recipe. So Vescovy this year is averaging a tad under 8 points a game and playing, I think, 6 to 8 minutes less a game this year than he did last year. So, again, this is just a different animal with Tennessee and starts with Connect. And you got to be able to guard him. Just make him uncomfortable, take him off his rhythm, maybe make him work hard on defense, whatever the case. And, of course, Tennessee's the number 2 team in America regarding defensive efficiency. So they still guard you. They might not be the rebounding machine they've been in the past. They're still a good rebounding team. They'll block your shot. They're not as big as they've been recently. They got 6'6" guys and 6'11" and some 6'3s. And Ziegler, I think, is 4'3". But they are much better on offense than they've been. It's the best team South Carolina's played all year. And again, Gamecocks,
well, And that's the scary thing about them. They were plenty good when they were just a primarily defensive team, but now you add to the mix, they're also very explosive on offense because, again, South Carolina has handled a good defensive team in Mississippi State, has handled a good offensive team in Kentucky. This is the best of both those teams kind of put together. So how do you control both ends of the court?
And again, you stay being you. I mean, it's one thing we say about South Carolina before every game. Be you. Play your tempo, play your style, run your stuff. Continue to hustle on D. Tennessee doesn't play at the speed or pace of an Arkansas or a Kentucky or an Alabama, but they play faster than South Carolina. South Carolina plays a very slow pace.
In the league, literally everybody plays faster than South Carolina, and Tennessee is on the upper half of the teams in the league with how they play.
And if you're South Carolina, that's fine. You limit your possessions. You do what you do.
Which Tennessee almost kind of slows themselves down with how good their defense is because their adjusted, possession length defensively is 11th. So that means they slow other teams down quite a bit, which in turn kind of slows down their offense. If they were not as focused on defense like Kentucky, they'd probably be right up there with them in terms of the speed of their offense.
All right, Lamont Paris was on John Rothstein's College Hoops Today podcast yesterday and talked about a variety of stuff, a variety of things. And one thing he did talk about, because, South Carolina has heavily used the portal in the Lamont Paris era. People forget Michi came through the portal from Ohio State.
Yep.
So here is Lamont Paris talking on the podcast, the balance of recruits and portal guys.
Yeah, I like a good combination, to be honest with you. I don't aspire to be in the transfer portal for 5 or 6 guys every year. I don't think that's sustainable. Probably in general, but certainly it's not sustainable here. So we've backloaded this talented group we have now with some good young guys. You see some of them, Morris Ugasuk had 10 points in our last game. Colin Murray-Boyles is another freshman from right here. Zach Davis is a sophomore. So I think we've backloaded it with some young guys that are learning the system and learning how to win at this level and to compete at this level. We got some good young guys coming in next year also. But obviously, I think to maintain a high level of overall talent, the transfer portal is as real as it gets, and I think we're going to be in there for 1 or 2 guys every single year. But, I like a good mix. I think just every day at practice, the diversity of ages helps also. We have a young group, but we also have a lot of young guys. An old group, but we also have a lot of young guys. And I just think it makes good for everyday practice to have that kind of diversity.
All right, there's, again, Lamont talking about a good mix of portal guys and young guys who you recruit. And it is interesting when you talk about the age difference, like a BJ Mack compared to, taking a Colin Murray-Boyles. Mack's like a adult, not a young adult.
Mack
like
is a grown man.
A grown man.
Who's been around the block for a while.
Yeah, so
Colin Cooper the same way.
It is a nice kind of dynamic between the younger players and older guys.
Well, and I think when you go back to a season ago, your main guys on that team were on the younger side. When you talk about Gigi Jackson and Michi Johnson, Michi was, I guess, second year of college basketball at that point in time as a true sophomore, and Michi coming in as a true freshman. So 2 of your focal guys were younger. And Lamont Paris kind of flips that on its head in the transfer portal by going out there and bringing in guys like Talon Cooper that have played a lot of basketball. BJ Mack the same way. Stephen Clark. He just made this team a whole lot more experienced, which I think has contributed to why they've done so well this year.
And I know basketball, you can do this better than football. I still think that when you're relying heavily on the portal every year, you're always rolling the dice. Look at Arkansas. Eric Musselman is one of the best coaches in America.
Right.
Musselman's been to 2 Elite Eights and a Sweet 16 the last 3 years. And Musselman this year, a bunch of transfer portal guys, maybe 1 or 2 holdovers, and it's been a mess. Because sometimes the transfer portal is going to work like this team. Lamont talks about everybody meshing together and everybody playing for the W and everybody getting along and the culture's good and all the transfer portal guys have been phenomenal. Obviously, that's not the case at Arkansas. You're not hearing Eric Musselman say that, are you?
No.
I haven't heard Musselman go, man, our culture's so good with all of our portal guys. They're meshing together well. And this is, they're kind of, it's just a great camaraderie. No, we're not hearing any of that. Because sometimes the portal's going to work for you and sometimes it won't, just like anything. Think about your life. Sometimes when you throw a bunch of people together who don't know each other, oh, wow, we just kind of got along right away.
Yep.
And sometimes you do it and it's like, I hate everybody in this room.
Right.
You never know what it's going to be from year to year. And this year it's been a disaster in Fayetteville, and they have one of the better coaches in the country. So you always want to have that foundation of high school recruits, players you bring in that you foster your culture right away on them, and they carry it as they grow, right?
Right.
And that's really still, I believe, the foundation, even in college hoops. It's become a crazy, nomadic, grifter sport. You still have, I think, that foundation. So you can't just go transfer portal happy, even though it has worked for South Carolina this year because everyone has been brought in, has just jumped right in and bought into what they're doing.
And again, like you said, you have a mix of it where you have Colin Murray-Boyles, you have Morris Ugasuk, two guys that are showing a lot of promise in their true freshman year. They were going to redshirt Ugasuk, but he showed them too much. We're like, hey, we can't keep this guy on the bench. So again, there are two guys that theoretically next year, when some of these other guys, I can't remember who has eligibility left and who doesn't after this year, where you're going to have some guys that are moving on. Those two guys theoretically could slide up in those starting spots, and maybe you're hitting the portal for one or two other guys, but you have a good mix of both on either side here.
I mean, you're looking at it, and I'm just going to double check because, I mean, knowing eligibility is crazy anymore. But Mack and Cooper are seniors. Miles Studi, who has also fit in well, a senior. And so those guys are pretty much, now again, we always have to triple check everybody's eligibility. Do you have any COVID eligibility? Have you got any other thing eligible? Are you a senior for real or just kind of a senior, or can you come back? But those three guys are seniors. Mack, Cooper, and Studi are seniors. Michi's a junior. You know, Jacoby Wright, also a junior. So conceivably they're coming back. Colin Murray-Boyles is a freshman. Zach Davis is a sophomore. Morris is a freshman. So you're going to have to figure this out because you're losing three of your top four scorers are seniors. And your other's a junior and Michi. I think Michi will be back, but you just never know. So you're kind of laying a groundwork, you're hoping, with Murray-Boyles and Davis and Morris and some of the other guys that are coming through this thing as time goes on. So we'll see. But, you know, a mix of guys from portal and recruits is a good way to go. And obviously you want to lay a foundation with your recruits. All right, let's grab, let's get one more in here from Lamont. The difference of, or the difference of building South Carolina compared to building Tennessee Chattanooga. That's a cut three, Tyler.
Yeah, a lot of similarities, to be honest with you. I'm a process-driven guy, and it starts with the people and the culture that fits me, and so that was the biggest part of the whole thing. So, I mean, honestly, I'd say a lot of similarities that way. The one difference is that when you get to this level, to project that a kid can play at this level when maybe a lot of people don't think he can play at this level, that's a little more difficult to do in the SEC than it is in the Southern Conference, to be honest with you.
So I think there's a lot of similarities in the building of these programs. I tell you what, Lamont got it going a lot faster here in year two. It took a little bit more time to ramp up at Tennessee Chattanooga. Up next, Vince Ferrara from the Sports Animal in Knoxville. Give us a little breakdown. Go behind enemy lines. Find out about the Tennessee Volunteers. That's next on the halftime show. Terry Ford, Tyler Head. We're rolling up until 3 on the game in Columbia, Florence, Myrtle Beach. 107.5 The Game app and the Game TV. All right, time to talk some South Carolina, Tennessee hoops, Knoxville tonight, 6 o'clock pregame here on 107.5 The Game in Columbia and our affiliate in Myrtle Beach, 100.3 The Game. 6 o'clock pre, 6:30 tip. Bring in Vince Ferrara from the Sports Animal in Knoxville. Vince, thanks for jumping in, my friend. I appreciate you. Thanks a lot, boss.
Yeah, great to be on with you guys. Appreciate you.
All right, now tell me the truth, Vince. We're going to give you some Falker truth serum, okay?
Okay.
When Tennessee gets Dalton Connect to come in from northern Colorado, what were you folks saying at the Sports Animal about bringing in Dalton Connect?
Oh, for sure that he's instantly going to be the best player in college basketball. I mean, that's what I would say. I don't know about all the other slackers that are out there. No, your question is appropriate because not only we knew he was a scorer at Northern Colorado. You watch tape on him, not a ton of defense. And look, he had to create. He could score from all three levels, which is what we see now. But, level competition, all those kind of things. But the biggest thing was, would Rick Barnes, who is so much about defense and everything starts with defense, would he allow an offensive player that he's bringing in to be an offensive player and help in an area that they needed help in? And I think there was skepticism. They had brought in Tyreke Key from the mid-major level prior the year before, and some other guys just didn't blossom with their game when they had to be able to defend some. But Rick Barnes has allowed Dalton Connect to be the offensive player even on an even greater heights than he was before, because he knew what he was signing up for. He wanted to come to Tennessee for exposure, to elevate his game, and he knew what he was signing up for. He knew that Rick Barnes and this coaching staff were going to get on him to defend. However, they're on him about his offense too, and they challenge him every day, and they've made him a tougher, more dynamic and explosive offensive player as well because of how hard they coach him on both ends. He knew that. He is coachable. A lot of guys would be like, no, man, let me get my shots in, let me get my points up, and I'm going to go on to the NBA. I don't need to be a defender. He had an open mind about it, and he takes being humbled and being coached hard. And you've seen him continue to elevate his game. It's incredible what he has become.
And to your point, Vince, real quick, how has he developed as a defender? Because, again, Tennessee's second in the nation in defensive efficiency. Obviously, he's not killing them.
No, I think going into last game, I didn't look in the game notes for this one, but I think he was third in plus minus. And he's on the floor all the time. He plays as much as anybody. So if you're a liability on that end, one, Rick Barnes is gonna really get on you, and two, that plus minus is gonna show. So granted, he's scoring so much, he's gonna be on the positive end of some plus minuses anyway. But it's a season long stat, and he's long. He's been able to move laterally better, and they do one-on-ones with him where they will force him to be a one-on-one defender against guys with different kind of games. They will also test him on the other end too, offensively, where they have the luxury in practice of putting perhaps the nation's best perimeter defender in Jamont Meshack, and they will run a bunch of one-on-ones. Do it again, and then they will keep challenging him on that end. So they challenge him a lot, and that's because Rick Barnes knows the capability he has, the mindset he has on offense. And so he has gotten better with his explosiveness, his lateral movement, and understanding what they want, because they switch a lot with their athleticism and their versatility with positions. So a lot of it is understanding what to do and then elevating that level of effort that he's being coached up to display. So those are a few areas he has gotten better.
I look at, Tennessee's record this year, Vince, and obviously they have the one conference loss on the road at Mississippi State a couple weeks back. A Mississippi State team that I see a lot of similarities to with South Carolina. What did the Bulldogs do to take advantage of Tennessee that day to pick up the victory?
I think they're probably the next most physical team to Tennessee in the league. So that was one thing. They also had a really good big in Tolu Smith that had a good game against Tennessee. Jonas Aidoo got in foul trouble. Tennessee's vastly improved big. And so he was in foul trouble. And then the other bigs, especially Tobe Awaka, wasn't able to handle him. And Mississippi State's pretty athletic as well, and they were motivated against Tennessee and playing at home. That was also coming off of Tennessee played maybe their most complete game, definitely their most complete game at the time in Ole Miss. So a little bit of a letdown after that, but they haven't had a letdown after a good performance since then. So they're going to lose again. This team isn't, anything that is unbeatable or anything, but they have a lot of pieces to where when they put it all together can be scary good for the postseason, different than what we've seen past Rick Barnes teams have. With their different ways to win. But those are a couple of things that Mississippi State did in that game specifically.
Vince Ferrara hanging out with us from Sports Animal in Knoxville. Give us a little lowdown on the Tennessee side of the matchup tonight against South Carolina. Again, everything starts here at 6 o'clock in Columbia and Myrtle Beach. Tips at 6:30. Vince, what's the vibe coming out of Knoxville about this South Carolina team coming in? Obviously picked like 44th in the SEC, which is tough because there's not 44 teams, but 17-3, been really the surprise team in the league. What's the thought process of the South Carolina Gamecocks from the angle of Tennessee?
Well, I'm sure it's different for the fans than for the players and the coaches. South Carolina has Tennessee's attention inside those walls with players and the coaches. So we had Rod Clark, who has a scout assistant coach. He comes on our show each Monday morning at 7:35, and he was giving South Carolina a ton of praise and how different they are this year, how well coached they are by Coach Paris, and how the transfer portal has helped them, all things that you guys are aware of. But, outside in terms of the fans, I think we are passing along that message that this is a much better team. I don't know that all of our listeners have watched them enough to really believe in them. I think some are just going to look at the rankings and say they're not ranked. I know that's debatable. Whether they should be or not. I know I did the Ball Network pregame interview with Jonas Aidoo, and he said we were all surprised they weren't ranked when the new rankings came out. So, but I think fans probably think, they haven't played anybody, and we should roll them by 20. So, but that's not a surprise, and that should not impact the actual game. That's just fans, and I do think they have Tennessee's attention, and Tennessee's really good at home, so they take care of business, whether it's ranked teams or unranked teams. It's tough on anybody when Tennessee plays at home, especially when they're dialed in and they're not overlooking their opponent.
All right, besides obviously scoring more points than Tennessee, in our last minute, give me the one thing that the Gamecocks have to do that they can walk out of there with a W tonight.
Well, I think they have to do the best job they possibly can on Jonas Aidoo. I think Dalton Knecht's going to get his. There's so many different ways that teams are going to try to continue to limit him and send him double teams, but he passes so well out of it. He can dribble out of it. He can do so many different things. But Jonas Aidoo, if they get an inside-outside game, he's the guy that I think is going to be where teams are starting to try to focus their attention and not let them Tennessee be dangerous on all levels. So we'll see what South Carolina does. A lot of teams try to move him and force him to shoot with his right hand as opposed to his left, but he can be effective with both hands. So I think the game plan and the best shot for South Carolina would be to have success against Aidoo, whether it's get him in foul trouble or get him off in terms of his shooting night, and then try to hope that Knecht misses some shots and maybe you're in the ball game late.
Vince Ferrara, Sports Animal in Knoxville. We appreciate you jumping in. Give us a little Tennessee perspective, Vince. Thanks, man.
Yeah, anytime, guys. Appreciate you.
All right, appreciate you too. All right, that's a little very interesting about Adu, second leading scorer, only real big at 6'11" that they.
And as he mentioned, when they lost to Mississippi State a couple weeks ago, he fouled out in that game. So that's a big key tonight. See if you can get him into foul trouble.
Yeah, can you attack him? Because again, South Carolina really doesn't have that true big like Mississippi State does.
Yep.
All right, we'll get back in here. What's today, Tyler?
It's the greatest day in the history of the world.
That's next. Sponsored by 1-800 Junk on the halftime show. Terry Ford, Tyler Head on the game in Columbia, Florence, Myrtle Beach. Also 107.5 The Game app and the Game TV. All right, halftime show. Terry Ford, Tyler Head. It's time for the greatest day in the history of the world, which is today, January 30th. A lot of the same stuff today. It's kind of interesting.
Which, by the way, doesn't it feel like January is 3 months long?
It kind of does.
Like those college football playoff semifinals, it feels like a year ago.
Oh, yeah.
Saban retiring. Like it was 8 months ago.
Everything feels like the early January.
The week of the national championship that culminated with Saban retiring and Kalen DeBoer getting hired on that Friday, that week took at least a year and a half.
No, there's no doubt. And here we are now at the end of January. And it feels like early January
still got
was
another
about
day
a
to
year
go.
ago. I know. We're so far away from any of that stuff now.
It's crazy.
All right. And then the football season will be wrapping up in 2 weeks. Where does the time go, Tyler? Oh, my God. All right, this day in 1920, a dude named Joe Malone scored 7 goals for the Quebec Bulldogs, one of my favorite NHL teams. 10-6, they beat the Toronto St. Patricks. Joe Malone, that was an NHL record, 7 goals. This is an interesting story really quick. 1950, a high school pitcher named Paul Pettit signed with the Pittsburgh Pirates for a record $100,000.
Record, huh?
To do so, Pittsburgh has to purchase his contract from a film producer who had signed Pettit to an exclusive contract as an athlete/actor, basically his agent advisor. 1950. I wonder if he was the first agent advisor ever.
Hold on. You said what year was it? 1950?
Mm-hmm.
Let me do some inflation here.
Yeah, see how much that $100,000. All right, a bunch of Super Bowl stuff on this day. The Redskins scored 35 points in the second quarter. They were down 10-0. They whooped the Broncos 42-10. Doug Williams was the MVP. And a guy named Timmy Smith ran for over 200 yards in that game, which was probably more yards than he ran for his entire career. Timmy Smith for a minute was a thing for the Washington Redskins.
$100,000 in 1950 translates to roughly $1.2 million today.
There you go. So he got a $1.2 million bonus today to be an actor-athlete. But
Which,
that might have been...
When you think about athletes that do endorsements, it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, this was like this guy was a genius.
Yeah.
This movie producer?
Plays baseball and then sells you Burma shave.
I mean, dude, Burma shave. What was the stuff? Little electric shave.
Yeah.
From Menon. Barbasol.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was like an early agent. Like he had to buy the Pirates had to buy the contract from the movie
man
producer.
was Jimmy Sexton's father.
And back in the Bud Sexton.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, he had one of those 1950s names.
Skippy Sexton.
Oh man, 1993, the Cowboys beat the Buffalo Bills 52-17 as the Bills lost their third straight Super Bowl. No, that was known for Leon Lett.
That was the year after Wide Right, correct?
Yes. Bills never even came close after Wide Right. He kept getting worse out of those 4 straight Super Bowls. Australian Open, Martina Hingis at age 17 became the youngest player in the Open era to defend a Grand Slam title, capturing her second Australian Open at 17. For a long time, those teenagers, it was a big thing in tennis.
Sure.
Whether it was Jennifer Capriati, Monica Seles, Martina Hingis, you had a bunch of...
There's always this race to be the next prodigy, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, there's the next one. There's the next one. Like, there's a reason the Williams sisters are generational talents. They don't come along every single day.
Right, and a lot of those teen phenoms had crazy parents or crazy situations, or because they were so young, and all of a sudden, hey, here's a lot of money. You're 16. Hey, here you go on tour. Go be a grown up. You're 16.
Yeah.
Terry Ford at 16 with a lot of money and put me on tour. Oof, that wouldn't have been pretty.
But Terry Ford at 16 got snubbed, right?
Yeah, no doubt. I could have been something on the talent.
Regional qualifiers, they cheated.
You know what? I can't get into it right now. They robbed me of a great teenage tennis career. All right. Also, let's see. John Elway, this day in 1999, second straight Super Bowl ring as the Broncos beat the Falcons 34-19. This one's for John.
And he rode off into the sunset.
Yes, he did. And, of course, that Super Bowl was known for Elway retiring with another trophy and Eugene Robinson.
The trouble you can get in South Beach, right? He, if I remember correctly, didn't he just receive
Man of the Year.
Man of the Year
NFL
award?
Man of the Year.
Yeah. And he celebrated in the wrong way.
And then all of a sudden, oh, you're a cop? Oops.
My dad always said they should have made him like ride back to Atlanta in a car with his wife. That would have been punishment enough.
With the doors locked.
The door's like, yeah. Mm-hmm. And he's like, no, somebody else is driving. They're just in the back. Like,
remember, he was a man of faith, a family man.
Oh, he
NFL
checked all
man
the boxes.
of the year.
Man of the year, like.
And then all of a sudden he tried to get his groove on.
And it was the night before the Super
It
Bowl,
was,
right?
and he couldn't play.
Yeah. You know, you're telling me you don't get a good night's sleep in a jail cell for a Super Bowl game?
I'm just like,
hey, at least the guy that went down to Tijuana with
Barrett
the Raiders
Robbins
was like good to go on game day, right?
well, no, he didn't play.
No, he didn't play.
No. Here's the thing. There was the deal with the Cincinnati Bengals running back Stanley. I'm blanking on his last name. Played at Oklahoma. He was a really important part of the run game for Cincinnati. They found him in the tub all coked up before the Super Bowl. Every now and then these things happen.
Yeah.
When you put these guys in these cities and there's parties.
You're
and
asking why the NFL is making the Chiefs and 49ers stay way the heck away from the Strip? That's
Stanley
why.
Wilson was his name. Yeah, that's
right.
why. Don't come near
Oh,
Vegas.
They're going to have armored guards standing on every hallway in front of every door that nobody's getting
You
out of
don't
there.
want that story this Super Bowl.
No.
But yeah, man, Eugene Robinson thing was like, whoa, wow. That's why, to me, and obviously I have a varied past that we can't talk about, but I would never have gone down that road, not because I'm some wonderfully moral individual,
Sure.
because that would happen to me. My fear is that would happen to me. Oh, you're an undercover police officer.
Oh, what are the chances?
Of course you are. Why not? Of course you are. And the night before the Super Bowl, you're going to go down that path the night before the Super Bowl.
So, get this. So, the award he received was the Athletes in Action Bart Starr Award, given annually to a player who best exemplifies outstanding character and leadership in the home, on the field, and in the community. After the arrest, Robinson agreed to return the award.
Man, what do you think? Hi, hey, sweetheart, want to see my award? Like, just wow. That story was crazy.
Man,
I hate to be a Falcons fan. You know anybody?
unfortunately.
All right, and again, tennis, a lot of Australian Open. Serena Williams winning her 10th Grand Slam title. Roger Federer won his 4th Australian Open on this day. And Lydia Ko, 17 years old, becomes the youngest golfer, male or female, to be ranked number 1. She shares second place on the WLPGA Tour season opener. She finishes a shot behind. And in 2015, a 17-year-old becomes the youngest golfer ever to be ranked number 1. There you go.
Wow.
How about that? So there's your greatest day in the history of the world, July 30th. Not a great day in the history of the world for Eugene Robinson, obviously.
It was not. Did he do anything after that in his career?
I think he hung around, but again, certain guys, when you're looked at in a certain way,
Sure.
You're this leader, this man of faith, this family man, all these things that you bring to the table that you are openly proud of, and you kind of, this is who I am.
Right.
And then you get caught for solicitation.
Tough.
That's a tough climb, my man. Tough climb. All right, we'll come back in here. We'll yip with Jay Phillips, probably a little bit about the postgame show. Also, Firehouse Sub text to the hour at 803-404-6100. All that's coming up as we wrap up the postgame show on the game in Columbia, Florence, and Myrtle Beach. Also, the 107.5 The Game app and the Game TV. All righty, before we jump into the Firehouse subtext, the hour, 803-446-100, and start yipping with our buddy Jay Phillips, let's get that sounder in here, Tyler, and let's do a little keyword and see if somebody can win a trip to Vegas for a big game weekend.
And now, here is your keyword from the game.
All righty, your keyword will be teams, Teams, and you text that to 95819. You could win a trip for two, including airfare, 2-night stay at La Fontainebleau in Vegas, $150 credit to spend at one of the 36 restaurants or bars. Also, 2 tickets to La Fontainebleau's Vegas big game viewing party at the Blue Live Theater. Again, teams to 95819. Good luck. Message and data rates apply, right, Tyler?
There you go.
All right, Jay Phillips is here, hanging out.
You just make that stuff up, don't you? You don't have any idea what the word is.
I just say words.
It's good.
Yeah, I don't even know if there's really a contest.
There's something about Valentine's Day contest?
Yeah, we got that going, man. You can, all right, and you go to 1075thegame.com.
Balls and Strikes Valentine's Weekend contest brought to you by Hilton Garden Inn.
There you go. Look at that guy.
Head on to 1075thegame.com to
You
register.
can get tickets for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the first 3 games of the season against Miami of Ohio at Founders. Also, you get Friday, Saturday night stay at the Hilton Gardens.
Yeah.
Plus, the Hilton Grill will feed you breakfast and a pregame meal on, Saturday and Sunday.
I mean, I know Jay lives right down the street, but that sounds enticing, right?
Is that this one right here?
That's that one right there.
Which one is that?
That one right there?
That one right over there?
No,
over here?
No,
there?
down there.
Down here?
Yeah,
over there?
It's that way. Don't point the wrong direction. You're just going to confuse all
Right
these
there
people.
on
Terry,
Gervais.
you lived there for like a month,
I
right?
did. They had to kick me out. When I first got there, that's where I got put up. Place is nice. It's cool.
I wasn't going to say anything.
It was good. I liked it.
I do.
there, man.
I do live close by.
I know.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
I've been there.
Yeah, that's right.
Nothing says Valentine's Day like taking your significant other to a ball game, huh?
I think that's very romantic, especially if you love the Gamecocks. You're not helping, Jay.
I will say
you're not helping.
maybe run it by your significant other just
You know,
to be sure.
We're trying to do a contest, Jay. That's not really helping. It's not really what we want, Jay.
Sorry.
Some people, that is romantic to go see the Gamecocks play.
Hey, I got engaged at a baseball game.
See? Maybe some guy or some woman wants to take someone to these games so they can propose to them.
I am all about love.
Me too.
So
Love.
There's that.
Love's got me in a lot of trouble.
Love. Love is all you need. Write that down, Tyler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That episode of Cops I was on, it was because of love.
Put that in a song.
So that was you hiding under the swimming pool in the backyard. That's the first place they should look, man.
Every time. Oh, God. Anyway, all right. Firehouse sub text of the hour. Fire it up there at 803-446-100.
Yeah, so Tony weighs in and says Eugene Robinson went on to be a color analyst for the Panthers after his playing career.
Thank you.
So a little local connection there.
There you go.
I came in late on that one. I missed that
After
part of
his
the halftime
rendezvous in South Beach.
Eugene Robinson, the part of the greatest day in the history of the world was this day is when your Broncos beat the Falcons.
show. I remember that.
And, of course, this one is for John. And John Elway obviously retired, had a fantastic game. And the other story was Eugene Robinson.
I remember that.
And so we were talking about that. He had just won a wonderful award.
Did he win like a Walter Payton Award
It
or
was
something?
the Bart Starr Award for athletes doing great in the community.
Okay. I knew it was some type of community award.
Being a
whether it was
wonderful-
Walter Payton Award.
a
or
real
whatever.
upstanding individual, that Eugene
A
Robinson.
great family man, a man of faith, a man of community, and a man who liked a little solicitation.
I mean, there's something communal
You know, I
about
was
that.
going to say, he's contributing to the community.
Helping the local economy.
That's what he's doing. Absolutely. He's helping the community financially.
Yeah.
That's what he should have said, by the way.
Sure.
Do you
What the
think?
heck?
Do you think the Falcons play a better game if that doesn't happen? Because they were flat that entire game.
Yeah, I think
I do
I
too.
think they play a better game. Do they win? I don't know. Do they play a better game? Yeah.
You look at every team that's had that issue before game.
Yeah, you play a better
Stanley
game.
Wilson, Cincinnati Bengals, Barrett Robbins, Raiders, Eugene Robinson, Falcons. All 3 of those teams got beat.
Yeah, that Barrett Robbins one, that's still, again, how that Raiders team made a Super Bowl, A, is
Right.
still somewhat remarkable. But then B, because didn't he go on like a bender in Tijuana
Yeah, he
or
went.
something?
Remember he had
any of
he had some kind of bipolar, some kind of
Yeah,
mental
he had-
health thing, and he
yeah.
went on that bender, and he
Yeah.
was in Tijuana.
They couldn't find him
They
for a
couldn't
couple days.
find him,
Yeah,
and it was craziness. Remember, Stanley Wilson was found covered in coke in a tub we're not talking about soda. And he was very important to the Bengals. They found him was the night before. Stanley couldn't play, and then you had obviously Eugene Robinson and that issue.
Which I brought up the point. That is why the Chiefs and the 49ers are staying very far away from the strip.
Yeah, I saw that this morning.
Nothing to do with
I
Vegas.
saw that this morning.
I would keep
You know
both
what?
teams
You're
in Montana.
I was going to say, you're staying across state lines at that
No
point.
doubt. No doubt.
Yeah.
Everybody else can have fun in Vegas, not you guys.
No.
Well, there'll be an opportunity.
Yeah, if you win, sure.
That's just that again. I'm surprised this kind of stuff doesn't happen more.
Going to find Kelsey on the roof of the
When
Bellagio
you're-
missing a
it-
tooth.
yeah, exactly.
Well, these are the notable you got caught moments or publicized. I imagine.
I mean the things that go overboard like this.
Yeah.
There's crazy. Oh, trust me. The Raiders. There's famous stories of the Raiders when they played the Eagles in '80, and they were the wild card team, and Dick Vermeil and the Eagles came in, and Vermeil bedtime's.
Right.
8 p.m.
Right.
And the
Sure.
Raiders' bedtime was whenever you come in and sober up.
Right.
The Raiders are running around. It was in New Orleans in 80?
I think that yes.
Wake up call was at 8. You got to get in bed at 7:30.
Oh, absolutely.
The
It was
Eagles
nuts.
had Jaws and like Carmichael. Harold
And they were,
Carmichael?
remember, Vermeil was, buttoned up and it was Taskmaster and everything else. And it was Flores, right?
Tom
In 80.
Flores, yeah.
Flores like, hey, we'll see you at kickoff.
Yeah.
Go have fun.
Show up, make sure you're wearing the pads and the helmet. That's all I care about.
Exactly. So anyway, post-game show, got anything
Raiders
good coming?
won. Yeah, we got Josh Ward from Knoxville. He was going to talk basketball. He may now be talking violations. And Derek Scott will join us as well, the voice of the game.
All righty,
We got a
post-game
lot to get
show
to.
with Jay and Elijah coming up. Tyler, fine job, my friend. Halftime show. We'll do it again tomorrow at noon here on the game.